David Rice, a quiet youngster, has a crush for the stunning Millie, who loves to travel. Violence bully Mark grabs the Eiffel Tower-themed snow globe that he surprised her with and throws it over the ice-covered river. David is resolute and rushes out into the ice to collect it while waving, but after falling through the ice, he is swept away by the rushing river. He is confident that without air and in the icy water, he would death, but then he wakes up gasping for air while lying on his back in the library, between bookcases. He makes his way home while wet, where his father criticizes him. David enters his room and fastens the door with a chain, but when his enraged father busts open the door, all that is left is a swirl of wind, and David has vanished. He discovers that he has once again been transferred to the moist aisle of the shadowy library. He realizes that he now has a chance to alter his course and leave his difficult situation, just as his mother left the family when he was 5 years old. He teleports back home and gets a little amount of cash and a few items. However, he makes a stop in front of Millie's house before leaving town. Despite being in her mother's arms, Millie is unsure that David is still alive. She cautiously enters the yard after hearing a commotion and discovers the snow globe on the swing set. She could conclude that he is still alive from this, but he ignores her calls. He travels to the city the following day on a bus, where he finds a low-cost room to rent. In order to understand how to control his gift, he practices teleportation there. Then, in the dark of night, he teleports into the vault of a bank to commit a robbery while casing it. He laughs as he realizes that his bag isn't big enough to hold all the money, teleports back to his run-down hotel for another bag, and repeats this process until his room is covered in cash and he is lying on a bed of it. Although he claims to be from the NSA, the enigmatic Roland shows up at the bank inquiry and seems oddly unsurprised by the locked door robbery. He obviously is aware of teleportation powers and is a member of a strong organization looking to catch this bank thief. Years have passed, and David now owns a luxurious city flat that is decorated with images from his travels around the globe and a little vault room that is stuffed with cash. Wherever they may be, surfing in Fiji, eating lunch atop the Sphinx in Egypt, meeting a girl in a British pub, he appreciates life's pleasures. Instead of stepping even 2 paces, he phases through his house, oblivious to the struggles of the common people stuck in rising floodwaters on television. Roland shows up and disturbs his calm by preventing David from teleporting with the use of his electrical weapon and wires. We learn that Roland's life's work is to exterminate jumpers, individuals who teleport, because only God should have the power to be everywhere. In a desperate attempt to escape, David teleports back to the bedroom he resided in as a child. He enters the bedroom, where his father recognizes him and knocks on the door, pleading with him to stay. As his father kicks the door open, David teleports away. He makes the decision to visit Millie after his ideal lifestyle is upended. She is still there, working at a pub when he discovers her. In a hurry, David teleports with his old foe Mark inside a bank vault before leaving him there as Mark manages to start a battle once more. He invites Millie to travel with him to Rome as he enters the bar again. She is horrified, but she must accept it because it is her life's ambition. When they arrive in Rome, he takes pleasure in seeing her excitement as he guides her around the historic city, but he is shocked when they discover that the Colosseum is closed. When she comes up to him, he is holding a gate open for her to enter rather than accepting no and coming back another day. Throughout their private tour, he keeps opening doors from the inside, but when they attempt to make their way to the stadium floor, he stops. He's shocked to run across Griffin, another jumper, who tells him that he's not the only one and that Paladins, people who seek to murder jumpers, are an organization that's larger than him and that 2 of them have just appeared. Griffin is prepared to combat their strategies, and eventually he subdues the assailants and teleports away. Griffin teleports to his lair as David interviews him along the way. He is confused, and Griffin's precise explanations, such as that he will drop a paladin into some sharks, don't help to clear up his confusion. Griffin explains that David is unable to have a girlfriend, family, or friends since they will all be killed by the paladins in order to reach him. He also claims that they are all dead. David goes back to Millie and agrees to go. They manage to elude the security guards within the Colosseum, only to be arrested outside. Millie refuses to return to the hotel when David commands her to do so, but he doesn't jump. David is still being questioned by the police hours later, and they are detaining him and his passport until further authorities show up. A woman suddenly emerges and commands him to leave his girlfriend behind while giving him a limited amount of time to flee. She is his mother, whom he recognizes from photos of him as a child. He locates Millie, drives her to the airport, and then somberly informs her that he must leave for home without her. David left Mark in a bank vault, and Roland has been brought in to speak with him in the interim. Mark describes who David is, where they are from, and everything he knows after becoming weary from continuously presenting his narrative to officials who were not convinced. Roland takes advantage of the chance to see David's father. When David comes back to interrogate Griffin further, the threat to his family finally dawns on him. He teleports to the house where he grew up and discovers his father lying on the floor. He teleports his father to a hospital emergency room while sobbing in an effort to seek him assistance. Inquiring as to what Mark told Roland, he teleports to visit Mark in prison. Mark claims he told him the whole truth. As soon as Millie steps off the plane in the USA, David sees that she will be in danger, but when he asks Griffin for assistance, Griffin declines. David tries to persuade Griffin by following him through jumps. Griffin teleports the automobile through traffic as it suits him after swiping it. They then ride together. They share some information, such as the fact that Griffin's parents were killed by paladins when he was 5 years old and David's mother fled when he was 5. Griffin makes a joke about a jumper who tried to teleport a building but perished in the process when David inquires about teleporting the car. In the end, Griffin decides to assist David for a limited engagement. Nonetheless, it is evident from the several portraits of Roland that he has animosity towards this paladin. After an hour, Millie's flight had already arrived when they arrived in the United States. To rapidly get her out, he teleports to her flat, but Roland and his attack squad show up before he can start to explain. Despite Roland being able to immediately follow his teleport, he is able to transport her to Griffin's hideout, to Griffin's chagrin. When Roland shows up, an epic conflict interrupts Griffin's plans to flee his house. Griffin once teleports a bus in Roland's direction, but Roland is able to duck beneath it as it flies by. Roland's electrical wiring has webbed up David and trapped him in a corner of the room, where he will be destroyed later. As Millie frees David, it's clear that she's upset by the circumstances and terrified of his odd talent. She implores him to simply take her home and leave her there. Naturally, she is quickly taken hostage and held captive. Griffin intends to bring a bomb to Millie's flat to kill Roland, but doing so will also kill Millie and everyone else there. David doesn't want that, so the two of them use teleportation to travel the globe while fighting over the bomb and the detonator. They also appear in a conflict zone where David ultimately captures Griffin using some downed electrical lines that are just as effective as Roland's traps. Returning to Millie's flat, David is aware that he is entering the lion's den. They anchor themselves to the walls and use electric wires to bind him down all around them. David asks Millie to get near to him and, inspired by Griffin's tale, decides to only move the building's components that are connected to the anchor cables. His use of power causes the flat to vanish out from under the building, which starts to collapse and the roof to fracture. David tells Roland to be thankful that he wasn't dropped off at the Sharks and teleports him to a cave. As Roland makes his way to the cave entrance after David disappears, he discovers himself perched atop a remote cliff in the Grand Canyon. David approaches a luxury residence in the cold and knocks. After a young woman opens the door, David's mother arrives and sends her daughter to her room. David is there to learn what it all means and why Mom abandoned him when he was a young child. She reveals that she is a paladin and that because she loved him, she abandoned him after he did his first teleport at the age of 5 because she was unable to kill him. She responds that she is doing more right now since she is giving him a head start because he feels she should be doing more. He is aware that she won't give him anything more. After he departs the house, Millie awaits him outside. When he inquires as to her destination, she responds, "Surprise me." Then they teleport away. Well, that's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it, and please support us by subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to get notification for new videos every we post.